Hello everyone, thank you so much to join us today. Today, I will present and show you about the Mikrotik Lab second chapters. Let's the start configuration. Alright, I will try the configuration in Mikrotik is dynamic server at static ARP. Before start configuration, make sure your laptop or your PC is connected to the router board, Mikrotik series, and that's I have. Okay, first open the Winbox. Click Winbox. Okay, if you don't have Winbox, you can download in below description. For your information, ARP is Address Resolution Protocol. It's a protocol in TCP IP protocol suite that is responsible for resolving IP address into media access control MAC address. Okay, just click run. This configuration is intended to secure the router if any client naughty want to tamper with the existing configuration on the router by using an application where the application runs when configuring a local IP address using static. The way ARP works is to match the IP address and MAC address on each client connected to the network. If one of them does not match, then the client is considered illegal and certainly cannot use the network. Steps to configuration: login by default and connect to MAC address. Click connect. Is initial view of proxy. Check the running interface. Command is interface print. As you can see, the interface is running status only Ether2. And then try to add IP address to Ether interface in status running. IP address add address. Example is 172.16.4.1/24. Example. You can just freely the IP address. Interface is Ether2. Don't forget. Check the IP address print. As you can see, this Ether2 have the network with static. And then we make a dynamic setup firstly before the add ARP address resolution protocol. We make firstly on the setup. The command is IP dynamic server setup. The interface Ether2 address is automatically, gateway automatically, give it out address automatically, and the DNS is using an open source Google DNS is 8.8.8.8. Enter. This time is, if you don't know about the list time, you can check my video YouTube about the dynamic server configuration. Enter and check IP dynamic server print. As you can see, the Ether2 interface has according to configurations title, this time set the IP address, and this time if the list time is gone and the IP address is left, the client is request again in this dynamic. And then we have make a setup for Ether2. We make have add ARP address resolution protocol for this setup, this dynamic setup. The command is IP dynamic server set numbers is 0 because I configure the add ARP configuration. Just make add ARP is yes. enter and check interface Ethernet print. You can see the Ether2 is status ARP is enabled. The command interface Ethernet print, then set the other ARPs reply only. Why is we reply only? Because in addition, on the router interface, where the dynamic server is located, we change the ARP parameter with reply only option. This is intended so that router will not automatically update the ARP list table when a client is connected using a static IP address. The status is enabled. We change in reply only. Alright. Later, the both things will make the router only allow interconnection of client who get the IP address from dynamic process. Users who set the IP address manually are not able to interconnect the router. This is built DHCP server network setup. Now change the interface Ethernet set Ether2 because the surrounding is Ether2, and then I set the ARP is read only reply only, and disconnect. We can reconnect again. Check in the interface Ethernet print. As you can see, the Ether2 before is enabled and after is reply only. In my explain before, which has been built the dynamic server setup, the settings will make the router only allow interconnection of clients who get the IP address from dynamic process. The client can be connected to the router, but users who set the IP address manually are not able to interconnect router because it's reply only. Only client cannot be connected on the router. Alright, check on the client in local client. Right click, open network and internet settings. And then lagi. Okay, change adapter option. And then properties. TCP IP4. Make sure your client using unobtained IP address automatically. This IP address is wrong. I obtain automatically. And okay. And we check in the Ethernet status and the details. The client have automatically IP address and the gateway is automatically. DNS is by Google. I have and I configure the dynamic setup before. The client can be connect router because the client have IP. If you don't believe, you can check a Windows router, CMD, and a not a google.com. Ping the router board IP. My IP router board is 172.16.4.1. If you don't know the router board IP, you can also check in the Winbox IP address print. This IP router board. Now check enter. As you can see in the user using a obtained automatically IP, it's connected to the router and can the replay and can be replay at same on the router board and the client. And you can also check on Winbox IP dynamic. server list. Sorry, IP dynamic server list print. This client is using this IP, and sorry, my explain it is uh, the sorry in my computer is MAC address as connected to this dynamic server setup because I have a dynamic setup before previously. Now the status is D, that means it's dynamic, and the router board is now, oh, this IP address is still the client in the local is have, sorry for my bad English and still study. Sometimes when you click interface Ethernet print previously is disconnect, you click reconnect again. Yeah, you can see this client have the IP address and the router board is now about this IP. The client using this IP and the router board is now, oh, this IP is for the client. Now you can see this IP 172.16.4.254. We try how we make in IP address auto, not automatically, but use the following IP address. Okay, we can try in properties. Before the properties, check any details. Use IP address is 254. Memorizing. Okay, use the following IP address, but the IP address is same in dynamic server. 172.16.4.254. Subnet mask. Okay, this IP is same in the. Okay. I will explain. In obtain an IP address automatically, the client gets IP this. We try and use the following IP address with the same IP address in automatically. In automatically, this IP is, we try in a use of following IP address or static. Okay, I add IP address 16 and 4 and 24 is same for dynamic. Subnet mask automatically. DNS no. And okay. Oh. Sorry. Yep. Okay. Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Check again on the client. And the router is disconnect. Click close. Okay. Status details. IP address is same. Now we check the WinRAR CMD ping 172.16.4.1. As you can see, the client is request timeout. Does that mean in ARP address resolution protocol? Because I have configured ARP previously. ARP, okay, ARP is will make the router only allow connect to client with dynamic process with the automatically IP address. Features. In IP address using client with the static, the client's not able to connect router. You can also check on the Winbox again. Run and MAC address. Connect. Check the IP at DHCP list time. And as you can see, the client use static IP is not list on the list print. ARP parameter with reply only. This is standard so that the router will not automatically the list table on the list time on the list client who's be connected in the service root board, except if you using the dynamic IP properties and TCP IP4. Okay, okay. Status same IP address, same. It's connectly. You can check in Winbox. Oh, we connect again. This list and a dynamic. This is so benefits about the address resolution protocol configuration, ARP. This is benefits. You can keep your router board from the hacker. If the hacker knows about your IP address router board, just hacker cannot be access to your router board because it's hacker only know about the IP address static method. And in your router board has set the ARP configuration. Just the client whose dynamic process IP get is connected to the router board because client connect to static or using the following IP address cannot be connected to router board. So if you have questions, I will try to answer on this comment. So on this session, hope it is useful. Keep stay tuned and curious. Bye bye.